Hello and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome, and if you're returning, thank you very much for your continued support. So this channel is all about my experience with an online access to nursing course through LearnDirect, and I'll also be covering my upcoming journey to university this September to do an undergraduate degree in adult nursing. This looks at LearnDirect's Unit 4, Health and Wellbeing, and throughout this video I'll explain the questions, I'll show you my answers, my tutor's feedback, in a way to help you understand how to lay out your answers and answer the questions to ensure that you get that achieved grade. Please do not copy my work, this is plagiarism and you will be removed from the course, but feel free to pause and navigate as you wish and use my template for an idea, but again don't copy the work word for word as this is plagiarism, and LearnDirect do scan your work through an online scanner and they can pick out whether or not you've plagiarised another student's work or indeed just copy and paste it from websites. So there are 3 questions in this assignment and I'll take you through each one individually. I'll explain the question, I'll show you the guidance, and I'll give you hints and tips on how to answer the question to make sure that you get that achieved grade. Question 1 is explain the relationship between resilience and mental well-being, and also need to discuss common strategies that can be used to build resilience. Now you get a little light grey box with guidance in it, and it's really important that you read the guidance because that is how you answer the question and that's how you get the overall achieved grade. So you should write your answers in paragraphs that flow, and it's therefore recommended that you plan your answer before you start to write it. A couple of units back you will have to do a study plan, and it basically is a way for you to write down how you want to attack your question, so where you research, where you study, where you get your references from, and how you're going to answer the question. Again, here it says that relevant theory must be referenced, so ensure that you have a reference list, and you should be a maximum of 500 words in length. I had to resubmit because I went over the 500 words. So I'll give you a little look at what I wrote and how I answered the question. I'll read through it, feel free to pause and navigate as you want, but remember, like I said earlier, please don't copy word for word. So, to answer, explain the relationship between resilience and mental well-being, I wrote that resilience and mental well-being are individually developed factors derived from life's experiences. Despite differences, resilience and mental well-being share a relationship that directly affects the other person's development. The American Psychological Association defines resilience as the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or even significant sources of stress. Mental well-being, not dissimilar, is attributed to an individual's response to life events that develop behavioural traits in expressing emotion and ways of thinking. For example, an individual suffering adverse childhood experiences like prolonged exposure to stress may be more susceptible to negative mental well-being as they develop further into life than an individual experiencing a more affectionate upbringing. A study showed that a history of childhood trauma could be linked to poor adaptive resilience, leading to adverse mental health and resilience in later life. This becomes more identifiable as emotions and behavioural traits develop. So I answered that question by explaining the relationship between resilience and mental well-being. And you'll notice that there are names and dates in brackets, and that is just me referencing, shorthand referencing, when I have used someone else's work to answer the question. Then you're asked to discuss common strategies that can be used to build resilience. So I wrote, many common strategies have been researched and suggested to build resilience. For example, Ginsberg said that early childhood exposure to positive nurturing areas such as competence, confidence, connection, character, contribution, control, and coping had been shown to influence positive protective factors in an individual's attributes that build resilience. In addition, factors such as the ability to problem solve and manage stress help individuals promote positive self-esteem and management of anxiety, improving their ability to be resilient in adversity throughout development stages. And I then went on to write, the National Health Service suggested ways to improve resilience independently. Staying physically active, connecting with others, learning new skills, and having a well-balanced diet and conducting mindfulness exercises all contribute to building resilience. Regular physical activity increases the release of feel-good hormones such as endorphins and serotonin that battle stress hormones like cortisol. Exercise can benefit an individual's confidence by promoting self-development through realistic goals, improving their self-esteem and developing good mental and physical well-being. Connecting with others helps build beneficial social circles that can improve an individual's self-worth, giving practical ways of expressing their emotions and feelings in a safe environment. This can aid good communication skills, the expression of emotion, and build resilience. Learning new skills can improve self-esteem and self-worth by challenging the individual and developing their sense of belonging. This could lead to an increased education and job opportunities that help the individual feel empowered. A balanced diet ensures that the body receives the nutrients required to be efficient. A balanced diet can help individuals feel energized, refreshed, enabling them to achieve their goals, improving self-confidence and esteem, and lead to a positive, resilient approach and clear thinking. Mindfulness exercises are another excellent way to build resilience. This allows individuals to reflect on their feelings and emotions, putting them in touch with themselves, a form of self-love. This can improve how they think and express themselves, providing positive attributes for their mental well-being. All of the above strategies have advantages and limitations. However, they are all positively impact an individual's ability to build resilience by encouraging positive mental well-being. So, they explain the relationship between resilience and mental well-being, and I also discussed common strategies that are used to build resilience. And as you can see in the last paragraph, I linked that to the National Health Service suggestion of resilience by doing it independently. So it's really important that you read over your work, you make sure that your grammar's correct, spelling's correct, no typos, and that the paragraphs flow in a concise structure. So that's how I answered question 1. It's also really important as well that you add a reference list. So everything that I reference within that page is on here. And this just basically says that I have used somebody else's work to answer the question, but I've also acknowledged that I've used somebody else's work and I've credited the previous author, so therefore I'm not plagiarizing anyone's work. It's really important that you use the Harvard method for referencing. If you go with LearnDirect or distance learning or anything like that, they will offer you their own version of a reference guide to show you how to reference correctly. So that answers question 1. Like I said, please feel free to pause and meander at your pleasure. Have a look at the way that it's written, maybe pull some ideas from that and have a look at the references so you can go off and research it yourself. Okay, so question 2 is you need to produce a table that includes the following. Identify 3 factors that can negatively impact on an individual's well-being and outline strategies that can be used to reduce the impact of these factors and improve an individual's well-being. Again, like I said earlier, it's really important that you read the guidance because this is how you get marked. Guidance is relevant theory must be referenced where appropriate and provide a reference list at the end of the table. And the table should be a maximum of 250 words in length, and the word count is the absolute maximum that you're permitted to use. So I'll take you through, have a quick look at my table so you can get an idea of what it is that you need to write, and I'll also show you the reference list so you can have a look at some extended learning. Okay, so here is my answers to question 2. And I've put it into a table like this, so I have the negative factors on one side and the strategies to overcome them on the right side. So negative factor 1 is stress. And exercise helps reduce stress by reducing stress-related hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. The release of feel-good hormones like endorphins act as a natural mood booster. In addition, exercise can improve physical appearance, increasing self-esteem and overall mental well-being. Exercise may not always have a positive impact as it can be time-consuming and it may not fit into an individual's routine, inflicting further stress and adversity to their well-being, and this can lead to depression and/or other mental health issues. Sleep hygiene. Improving sleep hygiene can positively affect an individual's mental well-being by allowing them well-rested, undisturbed sleep, rejuvenation of the body and mind, and removing toxins and other harmful substances that can affect mood, improving physical and mental self-esteem, and an improvement in mindset. Not improving this can further negatively impact well-being by causing many mental health issues. It can also inflict health problems by not allowing the body to remove toxins overnight consistently, damaging physical and mental well-being. Money worries. Reduce the impact of money worries by minimizing outgoings of non-essential services to save small amounts. For example, consolidating debt into a single payment scheme can help reduce monthly outgoings. Local services such as citizens advice and debt advisory services offer advice and solutions, all helping to reduce the impact of an individual's well-being. If an individual does not reduce the impact, it can affect an individual's well-being by causing further stress, anxiety, mental health issues, and in extreme cases, suicide. So those three there, they answer explain the relationship between resilience and mental well-being, and I've also alongside those discussed strategies that can be used to build resilience. So those three things there answer the question. By producing a table, I've answered three factors that can negatively impact an individual's well-being, and I've outlined strategies that can be used to help reduce the impact of those factors on an individual's well-being. I've done as it asked in the guidance. I've put it into a table and I've made sure that it is 250 words or less. Again, it asks to provide a reference list, so you can see here I only used 2 references in my work, but the extended learning materials give you ideas of where to look for those. So that answers question 2. I'll take us on to question 3. Question 3 is a little bit of a case study, and it is about Hubert. And Hubert is the main carer for his wife, who has multiple sclerosis. He works full-time in a local garage and also looks after their 2 children. The eldest child is in the final years of GCSEs and the youngest child has recently started secondary school. Hubert is a positive person but sometimes finds it difficult to cope. Recently, he has become impatient with his children and rude towards customers at work. So this is when the guidance asks you to answer the following. So you need to write an essay that includes the following. So we know we need to write an essay, so we know that they need to be in paragraphs. An explanation of the differences between emotions and feelings using examples to highlight the differences. A discussion about the positive and negative responses Hubert may have to the situation in relation to his feelings and emotions. Outline 2 different strategies that Hubert could use to manage his emotions and feel better. And analyse of the psychological and physiological impact of stress on Hubert's mental health and well-being. In order to advise Hubert about methods and strategies that he could use to manage and maintain his mental well-being, you need to evaluate the following: mindfulness exercise and cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT. You also need to analyse the following in relation to supporting mental health and how these types of support could be beneficial to him: friends and family, a local service, or your location provided by the NHS, and mind.org.uk. The guidance says that the essay should be written in paragraphs which flow. You need to review the definitions of assessment verbs, which you'll find in a previous unit, and in particular evaluate and analyse. You need to understand the difference between them. Remember to consider areas such as cost, time, availability, and waiting lists, etc. And relevant theory must be referenced, and the essay must be a maximum of 1,250 words in length. So I will take you through my version of answering this question. And like I said, as I'm going through the video, you can pause and navigate as you wish, but please do not copy word for word. It just gives you an idea of how to reference things, how to word things, and an idea of how to logically put things into paragraphs. It's estimated that around 130,000 people are diagnosed living with MS in the UK, with around 7,000 new cases diagnosed each year. Hubert is a primary carer for his wife, who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. He has shown signs of an increased stress placing strain on his mental well-being at home and work. This essay aims to explain the differences between feelings and emotions and the positive and negative effects of Hubert's situation on his emotional well-being. Strategies to effectively manage his emotions and analyse stress, physiological and psychological impacts on his overall mental well-being. So when you're doing essays, you always have an introduction, a main body, and a conclusion. So that top paragraph there is my introduction. And the most easiest way to write an introduction is just put a little fact at the beginning and then go on to explain what you're going to be writing about. So the questions there said that you need to have an explanation of the difference between emotions and feelings, a discussion about positive and negative impacts, outline 2 different strategies, and analyse physiological and sociological impacts. And I've put that into the first paragraph, so I'm basically telling you what I'm going to be writing about. And I follow that introduction on by my main body. Emotions are often said to precede feelings and have been described as a physiological response to experiences that induce an emotional response. Those responses provoke chemical reactions within the brain, responsible for behavioural and emotional responses. Feelings emerge because of emotion. However, to feel has been described as a physical and emotional sensation from direct stimuli to one or more areas of an individual's 5 senses. For example, an individual may feel physically cold due to a noticeable wind chill, and their body responds by telling them they feel cold. Alternatively, an individual may state they feel emotionally cold in response to a negative emotional experience. Another example would be experiencing fear. The body will immediately produce an instinctive fight or flight response that provokes an emotion, leading to a feeling of being scared, and once that emotion has been internalized, The differences between emotions and feelings is that emotions are a chemical response within the body that derives from an instinctive reaction to an experience, memory, or physical state, and this often lingers until the emotion is internally processed. However, feeling directly responds to emotions of outside stimuli to an individual's five senses. Hubert has already shown negative responses to his feelings and emotions by becoming impatient at work and rude at home. These negative responses may result from Hubert feeling angry, frustrated, stressed, and even resentful about being his wife's primary carer, raising his children with not much support and working full-time. Long-term exposure to these negative emotions can cause adverse reactions such as anxiety, irritability, depression, and poor mental and physical well-being. However, not all of Hubert's responses will be adverse. Hubert may experience positive emotions and feelings such as joy, pride, achievement, and a deepened sense of determination and love for his family. In addition, he may want to educate himself with a deepened understanding of MS and find ways to improve the quality of life for himself, his wife, and his children. There is an abundance of strategies that can be used to manage emotions and feelings that may benefit Hubert. For example, regulating his emotions will assist him in understanding how he feels and expresses his emotions by not consciously suppressing or subconsciously repressing his emotions. This will allow Hubert to be more in touch with how he feels, positively affecting how he deals with future situations and avoiding adverse impacts or future stress at home and work. In addition, taking up a hobby could help Hubert find something that provides him with pleasure and a way to relax. It further helps to reduce stress and improve his self-esteem, providing him with the ability to alleviate any further adverse reactions to his self-esteem. Either of these strategies could help Hubert manage his emotions and feelings better. I then went on to say, like his feelings and emotions, Hubert could try these methods to manage his mental well-being better. Firstly, regular exercise is an excellent way to manage mental well-being. It releases pleasure hormones like serotonin and dopamine. These feel-good hormones regulate mood, and exercise can boost his self-esteem by keeping him in shape. This can be a quick 10 to 30 minute exercise before or after work and fit in easily alongside his daily routine. However, this is entirely dependent on Hubert's mindset and motivation to exercise. Secondly, mindfulness exercises encourage individuals to reflect on their feelings and process emotions. This requires no professional assistance and can be conducted at his convenience, being a quick 10-minute at-home or work evolution, ensuring it will fit in with Hubert's day and help positively manage his mental well-being. However, this could adversely affect Hubert by making him hyper-aware of his emotions and feelings, affecting him negatively. Finally, cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT, may also benefit Hubert. While this approach requires professional specialist support, it's free and accessible via the National Health Service. CBT looks at individuals' behavioural traits that contribute to self-destructive or damaging behaviours that impact mental well-being. This practice is more time-consuming and can take several weeks of therapy to provide the support required. However, this support strategy has its limitations. It only looks at behavioural traits that affect mental well-being and not life experiences that can adversely affect his mental well-being. So, this may not entirely benefit Hubert or fit around his home or work life, like mindfulness and regular exercise. Physiological and sociological impacts of stress can vary depending on the individual's resilience. Hubert has been shown that his lack of patience at home and irritability at work affect his emotional and mental well-being. Physiologically, stress could impact Hubert by raising his blood glucose level and causing digestive issues linked to stress hormone responses, changing the body's function. Hubert's impact by stress will be subjective by the amount of support he receives from internal and external sources. Family can provide informal emotional support networks by supporting Hubert, such as childcare for the children and assistance with his wife's care whilst he works, all helping reduce the impact stress has on Hubert. In contrast, the NHS can offer formal specialist services, and this network would benefit Hubert greatly, as the NHS has a local MS community nurse programme that provides a range of specialist services for information on diet, exercise, living with and adapting to an MS diagnosis. This is also provided via telephone, video calls and home visits, with a referral being made by Hubert himself, or a GP referral will essentially fit around his home and work life. Another good formal support network is mind.org.uk. This has a vast formal support network regarding mental health, and they also offer ways to become a valued member of the volunteering network and campaigns. Again, this would benefit Hubert as it also allows him to meet other individuals in a similar situation as himself. This could positively impact his mental and emotional well-being, providing a socially interactive environment and reinforcing his sense of worth. So on to the conclusion. This essay began by describing Hubert's ability to understand his emotions and feelings and the positive and negative responses he might have. Then discussing strategies and services that can be provided to enable Hubert to manage his emotions and feelings with an analysis of the physiological and psychological impact stress can have on mental well-being. As this essay has emphasised, it's evident that emotions and feelings play a vital role in Hubert's mental well-being, whilst the impact of stress is subject to the individual's resilience and subjective nature. To understand better what types of support are available, Hubert would benefit from access to formal support networks that practitioners could refer to Hubert and his family. For example, knowledge and access to the MS community team, the MS Society, and utilising tools and strategies such as mindfulness, regular exercise, and CBT could better support Hubert and his family. So that there, basically, the first paragraph is the introduction, followed by the other three, and the other three answer the questions that were asked about explaining the differences between emotions and feelings, a discussion about the positive and negative responses that Hubert's situation can have on his feelings and emotions, and I outlined 2 different strategies that he could use to better manage his emotions by physical exercise and mindfulness. And I also had relation to mental health support types in there that could benefit him, such as family and friends, local services such as the MS community, and the mine.org.uk. The guidance also asks that you have a reference list and a bibliography. So my reference list is anything that I've referenced to use that isn't my own work, and then you reference it using the Harvard method, and that ensures that you're not plagiarizing. Now, a bibliography is slightly different to a reference page, and I actually this was wrong, and I got asked to resubmit. My bibliography page has on there the items that I didn't reference, but I should also have my reference items in here as well, and they should be in alphabetical order. So this is my assessor's feedback. So for question 1, he put this as a very well structured response. I've explained resilience and mental well-being, and I have the 2 elements that can relate to each other. I've discussed some appropriate strategies for building resilience, and I've explained that they are the positive impacts that they can have. Some relevant citations from wider reading have been included to support your points, and they have been appropriately referenced using the Harvard format. Well done. Question 2. You have identified 3 factors and have given a strategy for each. However, you should give consideration more to the negative impacts the strategy has. You'll notice there are 2 comments here because I had to resubmit. So once I resubmitted a few days later, he put, you have identified 3 factors that can negatively impact on well-being. You've outlined the appropriate strategies for addressing each of these factors. The positive impact of these strategies and the negative impact of the factors could both have been considered in more detail, but I still passed. For question 3, for the case study, this is a very good response which was well structured as an essay with clear paragraphs for each of the assessment criteria strands. You've explained the differences between emotions and feelings, and you've supported your points with some reference to wider reading. You included some examples, although these could have been linked to the case study. You have discussed some positive and negative responses that Hubert may have been in the situation that he is facing, with relevant strategies for managing emotions and feelings have been outlined and their benefits considered. The strategies of exercise, mindfulness and CBT have been evaluated with strengths and weaknesses linked to the case study. Well done. There is a clear analysis of the negative impact of stress, and some of the outcomes have been linked to the case study. Some of the sources of support and their impact have been analysed. Throughout the essay, you have supported your work with wider reading, and the Harvard form of referencing has been well applied. Well done. So they always give you suggestions for improvements as well, which I think is really useful because it shows where you can improve your work further along the line. And he put, ensure that you give consideration to all assessment criteria that is provided in the question guidance. And they give you more feedback and say that you've made an excellent start to the unit. However, question 2 requires a little more detail. And then when I resubmitted, he put, you've now completed assignment. Well done. You've shown that you have a good understanding of the relationship between well-being and resilience. You may proceed to the next unit. So it's really, really important that when you are going to submit your work, that you read the guidance, you ensure that your grammar and spelling are correct. You make sure that you're answering the questions in the way that they're asking you to. If you need to, refer to the assessment verb guide and the Harvard referencing guide that they give you when you start the course. So like I said, please feel free to go back through the video to your leisure, pause, navigate through. You can pull some points, but please don't copy the work word for word because you will get caught. This is not what this video is about. This video is not for you to plagiarise. It is for you to give you an insight on how to answer the questions and a look at someone else's work so you can get ideas and pointers to put you in the right area. Now, the questions might not be worded the same when you come to your units, because this one was completed in 2022. However, they will be similar in the way that you answer them and write them. I would just like to thank you for looking at my video. I'd like you for taking the time, and if you would like to like, comment and follow, that would be fantastic. Until next time, take care.